This time I have my microphone coming back through my headphones, so hopefully I can hear.
Good lad.
If my audio is terrible like it was last week, because it was not great, not up to par, I should say.
Okay, I am recording now. Wait a minute. I'm recording, but it doesn't look like it's picking up, and that is worrisome. Give me a second. What is up? All right. Wait, give me a sec.
No problem. Got plenty of those.
Okay. Looks like my mic is on. Oh, okay. Wait. Now it looks like it's just fine. Okay, so I'm gonna kill this and restart, so I don't have. Let's see.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay, and now I'm just double checking. Now everything looks the way it should. I don't know why it didn't before.
Alrighty.
We're good to go.
Good to go. GTG.
Went and saw
on the internet.
The Captain Underpants movie.
Oh, geez.
Did you?
Yeah.
How was that? I dodged that one.
It was okay. The books are good.
Yeah.
It really felt like a mashup of what should have been like 3 premiere episodes of a television show. Like it was that quality, you know. I mean, it was nice. It was well done, but it didn't feel like a cinematic experience. It felt like somebody remixed 3 television like origin episodes, and yeah.
So it felt like Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
Yeah, actually, it really did. Which is to say, you know, it would be a good television show. Which apparently they are making a television show. So, and I think this is the launch for it. Is my understanding.
Right.
So, yeah, but it feels like that's what it should have been.
Yeah, that one, I was able to convince my son to go see Guardians of the Galaxy instead of that. And he ended up saying Guardians Galaxy 2 is his favorite movie ever. So that worked out well.
He is so your son.
Yep.
The thing he experienced for the first time 5 minutes ago is now the best thing ever.
Yes, that is true.
All right. Should we do a clap?
Sure.
Yep.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. We did it. That was a clean one.
We have accomplished the clap.
Clean.
We've solved the clap.
Cleanclap.com. All right.
It's a website I would visit.
It's got all of our clean claps. All right.
It's all you, Johnston.
All right, fine. I'm just checking to see if I'm recording, which I am. All right. Hello and welcome to episode 555 of the Player One podcast for Tuesday, June 27th, 2017. I'm your host, Chris Johnston. With me, as always, from Canada, Mr. Greg Seward.
Hello. Happy 150th birthday, Canada. That is coming up this weekend, July 1st.
Oh, that's right.
American listeners.
Don't you have tomorrow off or something?
No, I have the 3rd off because
July
July 1st falls on Saturday.
I have the 3rd and the 4th off. How about
I heard that. I've heard. So is that a like a thing that is that a statutory thing, or is it
I don't think
whatever
so.
company you work for?
No. Yeah,
company by company.
I'm going to be doing the same thing, but I have to
bullshit.
use my comp days to make that happen.
That sucks.
Yeah.
You guys need to move to Canada.
True. And joining us from the great state of California, Mr. Ethan Einhorn. Hello.
Hello, and I am on day 1 of having the house to myself, which means probably more than one dinner of Reese's Pieces, pizza, and Guinness. So,
listen, if you find that you enjoy that a lot, I have a solution for you.
What's that?
I've been living it for the past year or so.
I like to visit this state, not necessarily live there, but yeah.
All right, there you go. Not with us this week. Mr. Phil Theobald, who will be joining us in the future from the great state of Washington.
So Washington's on the West Coast, right?
That's correct.
That has nothing to do with Washington, D.C.
That's right.
That is confusing as hell. Let me tell you.
Confusing for those of you who don't live in the U.S. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, last week we talked about E3, but hey, Ethan, you were not here.
No.
So I want to get your takes, your hot takes, your slightly warmed over takes now that it's a week away.
Kind of reheated takes, really.
Yeah, reheated takes. Exactly.
Microwave takes.
I had a great E3, and one of the highlights, of course, was walking the show floor with CJ, and his radiant star power made it so that people just pushed themselves back when we walked by. So that definitely made for a great show. But we did have a chance to check out a bunch of cool stuff. I didn't get my hands on Mario, so I'm very jealous of you on that front. But I did get a chance to look at Battlefront 2 and actually sit down and play that for a little bit. And
excited about that one.
Nice.
Yeah. What was fun, actually, was I ended up playing the episode 1 content in there. And I know that is the most disliked era of the movies for most fans, but it actually works out really well in a game. So I was doing a lot of Roger while I was taking down other robots.
But no, that's exactly the way I put it too. It's like, wow, they made episode 1 look like a lot of fun. So I have high hopes for the rest of the game.
Yeah. And of course, silliness abounds. I don't know exactly why Darth Maul is running around helping out these lowly robots, but it's still fun to see that and to save up your points to try to unlock him. Everything seems a lot more streamlined than last time, and they gave us a good 20 minutes or so of play, which was pretty satisfying. Unlocked a couple of ships and started flying around in those. And it's just the kind of Battlefront that I can get into, whereas the kind of proper Battlefield stuff is a bit overwhelming to me, to be honest. I like the kind of simplicity of this, and it just really threw you into the universe. So I like that. But while that was the one game I had a chance to actually get a little hands-on to play, I would say that it wouldn't have made my top 5 in terms of E3 games. I won't go down that list, but I will say that number 1 to me would have been Mario, and number 2, and a close number 2, would have been Spider-Man. That thing looked incredible.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of which, we should link this to the show notes. Friend of me of the show, Chris Baker, has done a nice little trailer dissection video.
Yes.
It's pretty cool. It's a lot of fun, and it's doing really well for him. So we should, we'll link to that in the show notes.
Yeah, it's made him like a whole $35.
So something like that. I mean, it's made him like a whole year's worth of YouTube income for me. But no, it's fun to hear a take from somebody who not only is one of the biggest comic book / Spider-Man nerds you're ever going to meet. I mean, he has an encyclopedic knowledge of that universe. But considering that his previous job was to help produce Marvel games, and in particular, I think the last 5 Spider-Man games that came out, he had a hand in. So, he's definitely got a unique perspective on it. So you should definitely go out, check it out.
Yeah, it's definitely good stuff. But yeah, I did spend a lot of time over at the Xbox booth, and this is where I wish I was on the same show as Mr. Kevin Larrabee, because I gotta say, as excited as I want to be about the Xbox One X, when I went to that booth and I saw everything running in 4K, it just might be my old man eyes, but I cannot tell the difference, at least not on that little 20-inch screen, between 4K and 1080p. I just can't tell. Probably if I saw them side by side, I'd be able to notice.
I'm sure you'd see it.
Yeah, certainly if I was in my 20s and just really eager to justify my hot new purchase, I would see it. But right now I don't see it, and I don't see it as a significant advance. And again, something like Forza 7 looks unbelievably beautiful, but it always does, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's kind of the key thing, and Kevin brought that up last week, especially regarding frame rate, because he's one of those people who's actually really concerned about that stuff. But I don't think that using Forza 7 as a measuring stick for that sort of thing is a good idea, because that engine is probably the most refined engine of any game you're going to see on the Xbox.
Yeah.
in general. I mean, it's like you say, it's always looked gorgeous. Those games have always looked amazing. They've always run beautifully. And of course it's going to be better, like that much better and that much more solid in the Xbox One X.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I'm with you, Ethan, in that, I mean, I can see a difference. And if you put them side by side, you would definitely notice a difference. But yeah, it's not a $500 difference for me right now. I also don't have a 4K TV.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
you know.
And to be fair, if I did end up getting a 4K TV, I probably would end up getting an Xbox One X as well, and I would get that over a PS4 Pro, given the power.
Yeah. Really?
I would. Yeah. Even with the extra price tag.
The third-party games, including Assassin's Creed, they're using the same visual technology to get to they're using the checkerboard style,
I guess,
right?
but you have to look at it from, I think if you look at it in the position that Ethan's in, Ethan already has a PS4 and an Xbox One.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you were only to upgrade one of those two consoles for your new 4K TV, I agree. I would probably upgrade the Xbox.
For me, it would be the PS4 Pro because I play more multi-platform games on the PS4. And
see, I would just change the games or the system I play multi-platform games on.
Well, and I guess it's different for you because you don't play online modes a lot of the time, so you don't really care about that. But me, I do. I have more friends on my friends list that are playing the games I want to play on PS4, like Overwatch, like Friday the 13th, like yeah, really just those two.
Gran Turismo Sport.
Well, and so I was also, frankly, excited to hear what Nintendo themselves were announcing, but disappointed that we didn't see what I was thinking we were going to see, which was a number of third parties announcing more content.
Yeah,
I fully expected you'd see, say, EA to say, and we're bringing these 3 big brands to Nintendo platforms soon, or something like that. Even if it was just a title placard, the way we saw Metroid Prime 4, I thought we'd see more of that. A response to the unexpected performance of the Switch at retail, but we didn't see any of that. It seems right now like it really is the Nintendo platform, and what you have is this really strong monthly cadence of great releases from first party, backed up every other week by some pretty solid indies. And I wonder if that's just what it's going to be moving forward. If so, it's a bit of a disappointment.
I hope that's not what it is, right? I hope the case is that EA and Ubisoft and Activision and all of these third parties have titles in the wings. They just did not announce them, or they were too early, or they've just started.
I think you're probably, I don't know. It's hard to say. I really think we're in the exact same, and I kind of said this was going to happen. We're in the exact same cycle we were in with the Wii U. Ubisoft is diving in as usual.
3DS, really.
Yeah, I suppose, but I mean more recently,
are not doing a whole lot of 3DS games.
Yeah, more recently though. I mean, the Wii U was the same way, where you get Nintendo and you get Ubisoft really jumping in, and then everyone else kind of taking a wait and see approach.
But I think the difference here is the wait and see approach. You're right at the beginning. Only promising one game, whatnot, that worked for the Wii U. Avoided costly production on the Wii U, and I wonder if now the fortunes have been reversed. Right, this isn't the Wii U. This is you could call this a successful launch. So,
sure.
What does that mean?
Just like
does that mean that
Wii?
Third parties, like on the 3DS, are just kind of going to avoid it? Or?
It goes back. I still say it goes back to having a more unique development environment, which is to say that. And
a Tegra processor
but yeah, like if I'm making Assassin's Creed, I can make Assassin's Creed. I can make one SKU that requires very few changes and release that on Steam, Xbox One, and PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
So,
that's true.
I have to make a separate one or a quite different one for the Switch, and it's a question of, is that worth it?
That kind of across the board make one game for multiple platforms. Yeah, that's difficult to impossible. And of course, it would be a bit of a bummer, no matter how much of a Switch devoted consumer you are, to get the worst version just for portability. That being said, where I see a real opportunity is they have some gaping holes in terms of their lineup from a genre perspective. So the first major company that's not Nintendo to launch a really solid built for the machine first-person shooter, that would make a lot of sense. Whether that is a Switch version of Call of Duty or something altogether new or Overwatch, whatever it is, that's a huge opening that would sell, I think, probably 2 million plus units if it was a high quality game.
I agree, but and for them, and that makes total sense. And I think that's the thing. I mean, it's a question of justifying the dollars you're spending on development, right? And if and the potential is there. Obviously, the potential is there for sales. But then you've also got to back up again and look at the Wii. The potential for sales in that system were huge too, right? I mean, and they didn't.
Here's where I'll say it's going to be a very different thing, though, Greg. I bet you anything, the attach rate between the Switch and the Wii are very, very different, because the Wii was about my in-laws buying the machine, and they did that, and they bought one or two games that were kind of crap third-party games. Switch is being bought principally, at least right now, by a lot of core players that love the idea of a console experience on the go.
I would argue that the first couple months of the Wii were the exact same way. I would argue that the first couple months of the Wii, everyone went out to buy it for Zelda. Until it became a massive hit and everybody wanted Wii Sports. But until that point, it was the core gamers. There weren't moms and dads lining up or grandmas lining up on launch day because they wanted a Wii. That took time to develop. Sure. And so I think you're probably right, but we are not there yet. The system hasn't been out long enough to be able to make that comparison just yet.
No, but I think you're right about that. But I do think that any publisher could reasonably say that the attach rate will be triple to quadruple what it ended up being for the Wii, just because they're
again what it ended up being. But I would argue that if you go back to the first 3 or 4 months of the Wii, the attach rate for something like Zelda is probably pretty close to exactly what it is right now for the Switch.
And you have to wait until after the launch period is over,
right?
Yeah, that's true.
Really see how software is going to sell.
They are going to take a long time to outlive the reputation of the Wii.
Kingdom Battle sells.
Right. Well, here's another thing.
But see, again, just say that's a Mario game.
You're right.
It's not the same.
Here's what I think we're going to likely see is the type of attach rates that you've seen with the Vita, which I believe was like a 9 game per machine attach rate or something like that. Very, very high, because you have an audience that is very, very into games that's buying that device. And
what did that do for Sony?
Well, but this is something that is successful for Nintendo out of the gate. The Vita, by this time, 3 months in, was clearly not a healthy machine already.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. They've got the Wii's reputation to overcome. That's the biggest problem. So, and they might do it.
Here's the big question. After each E3, there is plenty of punditry going on. Like, who won? Who won E3?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So who do we think won E3? I'm going to say, I think it might be Nintendo, but it's not what they showed off. It's that they showed off games we knew about, but their release dates had not changed. Like Mario Odyssey. Everybody was like, oh, this looks so great, but it'll probably be pushed back into 2018. So when they announced that it was October, and they announced Xenoblade was holiday, and they announced, Fire Emblem is still fall and whatnot. The excitement around Nintendo is, those release dates on all those games I'm looking forward to haven't slipped.
Yeah, I love that. So you're saying Nintendo won because they weren't as disappointing as we all thought they were going to be?
That's right.
That is such a CJ way to look at things. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, I think they did have a very smart fan-centric approach to what they were delivering. So I really like the idea of just Kirby, just Yoshi, clearly reboots on those machines. We didn't see a Smash Brothers, which on the one hand disappointed me a bit. On the other hand, made pretty clear that they're not taking the approach of, hey, let's just shovel everything from Wii U over to our new machine. They're not.
But you figure that will probably happen, right? In the lull. If there's a lull in software releases in 2018, they probably have that in their back pocket. They can really announce that at any point.
Oh, sure, but the point is,
a lot of them.
The point is they are not using it as a highlight. They're using it as a backup, if anything else, which is healthy.
Again, yeah, I agree. Like but again, we're giving them points for not being as disappointing as we thought they would be.
Yeah, but I mean, are you not legitimately excited about a new pair of Metroids and Kirby and
Come
Yoshi
on,
and all
though.
of that?
I'd be legitimate. I am legitimately excited, but really, like Metroid Prime, I'm so glad to hear Metroid Prime 4 is happening.
Yeah.
All I've seen is a black title screen and no date. Come on.
Sure.
It's exciting
Right.
that
They did clarify later that the Metroid game is a 2018 game.
Did
Okay,
they
well, that's awesome.
clarify that it was retro? Is it in fact retro?
No,
Do
it's
we know
not
that
retro.
for sure?
Not.
Ooh,
Not retro.
that's not good.
So
Well, it could be good. It could be bad. Who knows? Like,
yeah. So, no, I mean,
it was not
they showed some good stuff, but the stuff that I was really excited about, I was already excited about. They didn't.
Well, to me, it was the
knock my
same
socks
at
off.
Sony and Microsoft. The stuff that I was most excited about were things that we already knew about.
Yeah, well, if anything, Sony disappointed by not
Sony
showing
was
the
terrible
game
for
I
that.
was most excited about. Last of Us 2 is the one thing I was dying to see.
Yeah, that was
no show.
That was a huge bummer.
Yeah.
They mentioned on the Easy Allies podcast this week. Do we think that Sony is shifting their main software showcase from E3 to PlayStation Experience?
I think there's that, and I also think that they might be starting to save things for potential new hardware next year.
Not as soon as next year.
PlayStation 5? Is that what you're talking
Not
about?
as soon as next year?
No, I don't think so. They just released the PS4 Pro less than a year ago.
That was an iterative system.
It was, but I don't think. Launch. No, it's not a new console launch, but I would give it at least 2 more years.
It is going to be super interesting to see how both Microsoft and Sony handle the whole next hardware thing. Now that they have done
I am super interested in that. And I almost feel like we're actually in a situation where they're both going to try 2 different things. I feel like with the Xbox One X, Microsoft has fully embraced the idea of the iterative system. I feel like Sony's not going to do that. And if they're not going to do that, next year is the traditional 5-year cycle point.
You're right. Yeah.
So do you think either one of them will actually scale back on the technology fight and try to compete with Nintendo?
Nope.
No, I don't think so.
Why would you? Honestly, I don't see the point.
Why would you?
Because software development resources too much too.
I see.
Where you have to have a new piece of hardware. It has to be powerful and it also has to be portable. I mean, they're not going to do that. And then would they make a portable only system? No, I don't think so.
Right. That I agree with you with. Yeah.
Yeah. So who do you think won E3?
I'm trying to go back and find my old notes.
You say Nintendo?
I'd say Nintendo, absolutely. I'm a little biased on that, though.
I do think...
I thought Devolver Digital won, to be honest.
In terms of the games that I want to play, it's a toss-up to me between Nintendo and Sony. And for Sony, it's a lot of third-party, it's multi-platform games that I'm going to be playing on PS4.
That was the biggest thing, I think, with both of them, with Microsoft and Sony, is that I think out of the conferences, I actually liked Microsoft's the most. But I know not most of what was shown there were exclusives, no matter how many times they used the word.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
But yeah, I mean,
probably their biggest announcement, which is PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, isn't going to be a game that you're going to play.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but
that's
there
true.
was Crackdown 3 and Cuphead and Life is Strange was on there. And Ori looked great, and
I heard from a lot of people, Crackdown 3 didn't look good.
I don't care what
people
say.
It didn't look 4K.
Fine. I mean, it looked fine. It looked like Crackdown 1 on steroids, which is
exactly.
And there's Forza 7.
Well, I pointed out that Crackdown on the Xbox 360 itself was not a graphical powerhouse. In fact, it kind of looked like trash.
Yeah.
So for Crackdown 3 not to be like a visual powerhouse, that doesn't really say anything to me about what the quality of the game is going to be.
Right. For me, again, I just realized
it wasn't about visuals.
Well, it certainly wasn't with Crackdown 2.
What's that?
It certainly wasn't about visuals with Crackdown 2 either. So
no, it was not.
So, for me,
Sadly.
the big issue is just I am realizing after having actually gone out and bought Cars 3 Driven to Win on Switch because I am so hungry for content on that machine. If a game is not totally kick-ass amazing, I can't believe it, like I would expect Spider-Man will be or the new Uncharted on PS4 or Xbox One, I'm not buying anything on those platforms anymore. They have to be amazing games. Otherwise, I'm just going to play Switch. I'm glad that I have those other systems, but they are definitely my, B tier platforms right now in favor of the Switch. So,
but I mean, I agree with you, but there are games like Friday the 13th, Overwatch,
yep.
Yakuza 0, Persona for some people, not for me. Uncharted coming later, Assassin's Creed, all these games that are going to keep me on PS4.
Yeah, and as I said, I'm going to continue to buy PS4 games, maybe buy a couple of Xbox One games, but I'm going to buy a lot less of both of them because they are not my primary machine anymore.
Well, to me, yeah, I'm excited about games on Switch. Any indie games for sure I'm buying on Switch.
Yes.
But for me, I think it's pretty much the one big game a month on Switch, and that's it.
Yep.
Unless it's like a must-have indie.
Yeah. Again, my spending is just a bit different. I mean, I bought.
There's so many games coming out this fall.
It's ridiculous.
So many. It's like how do publishers even imagine that consumers are going to be able to buy all these games? Like, people's incomes haven't like risen to the point where they're going to buy all of these titles at launch. Like, somebody is going to be a big loser this fall. Right.
Yeah.
We're going to have a Titanfall 2, Battlefield 1 situation again this fall with something where something that's really good will just tank in sales.
Yep. Undoubtedly.
It'll probably be Microsoft because they can't seem to release anything big and have it actually hit the way it should, and it has nothing to do with the quality of the games.
Well, and to me, the thing they have to be careful of is that quality, right? Because ReCore was launched with a bunch of glitches, the Master Chief Collection.
Yeah, like, boy, they
don't have a great track record. Unfortunately,
they cannot live down that Master Chief Collection. Nor do I think they should.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that was the flagship of flagship titles for them, and to have it be in the state it was, yeah. I mean, it's rightfully so that people still give them grief over that. But wow, that was 4 years ago.
Yep.
I mean, a great cautionary tale: don't screw up your main AAA franchise.
Yeah.
Greg, did you say who you thought won? Microsoft on the presentation?
I thought. See, the way it's weird because generally the way that I measure E3 has way more to do with the press conferences than anything else. So I mean, I realized that again, a lot of the stuff shown, especially between Microsoft and Sony, were third party that you're going to be able to play on almost any console anyway. But their conference to me was the best one. But there were things I liked about all three of them. I mean, I did love that Nintendo. I was excited about Mario Odyssey. Now I know why I'm excited about Mario Odyssey. Like before, it was like it's Mario and they're not going to screw it up, and I want to play it. But now it's like I see like it looks super interesting, and that's really what I wanted from them.
I can't wait for it either. But I did realize that holy cow, this is like the Jason Goes to Hell of the Mario games. From a mechanic standpoint.
It's weird. It's got to me, it's got Mario Sunshine written all over it. It's just a weird. It looks weird and completely off the wall for that series, but I'm excited to try it. I am super excited that Metroid is coming back. Metroid Prime, love the Metroid Prime games. I loved I love some of the stuff Sony showed. I was really excited to see how much time they spent on PlayStation VR. That's
I was happy about that too.
Yeah, I know that's not as much interest to the general public, but it's important to me. And Microsoft just showed a lot of games. They just showed a lot of games. They weren't, and there were some there that I was desperate to hear were coming out soon, like Cuphead is a great example. Crackdown 3, another great example. Forza 7 looks amazing. The Xbox One X, for what it is, does look like a fantastic system. I'm not buying it, but it looks great.
I'd second that, yeah. Yeah, I'll say I'm convinced that I'm going to be getting Skyrim for the 4th and 5th time this year.
VR.
Yeah,
and
you
Switch.
tweeted something about, I forget exactly what you said, that you were more excited for Skyrim than I think anything from BioWare or something like that.
Yeah, I'm more excited about Skyrim on Switch than I am Anthem.
Well, it's because Anthem is Destiny, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not, and to be clear, I'm not saying that a warmed over game from the last generation is better than Anthem. I'm sure Anthem's going to be a very, very good game.
I'd call it
I
more
just
like the
won't play it.
status quo for the Wii, or for the Switch.
Well, and here's the other thing is when EA shows that game and they say, this is a game you're going to play with your friends for years, I'm just thinking, nah, a month is good, and I'd like to play by myself. Thanks. You know? And that's just
Ethan,
a different way to play.
I mean,
He would rather play with himself for a month than play with
that's where
a
the
friend
industry
for
is
years.
going, though. These games that have years worth of life in them.
Well, that's where a lot of the games are going, but not all of them. I think
Yeah, that
all of
is.
them, yeah.
I definitely
No.
that when I see that,
More and
I
more.
do agree. When I see that, I do agree that is totally where the industry is leaving me behind.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in those experiences either. I'm with you. I want to have a complete experience in like a month or less.
Yeah,
And I don't want to have to rely on my friends or people I meet on the internet to make it a good experience.
And I want to be really clear. I think that the people saying that everything is going games as a service is the same thing as when people said everything's going subscription MMO or everything's going free to play. No, of course not. You're going to have a lot of really good AAA experiences that are games as a product, that are single player adventures, because there's still an audience for that. You're going to have a lot of games as a service games, more than you ever have before, but it's not going to kill the games that we love. That
It'll be the same thing that happened with the World of Warcraft effect, right? Everyone's going to try it. A few companies are going to be successful, and the rest are going to lose their shirts, and we'll come back to a balance.
Because those games are going to become increasingly ridiculously expensive to compete in.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I think I read an interview with Sony where they said they're doubling down on narrative experiences that are not games as a service. And I think that's great because you can have the third-party publishers, the big AAA third parties, do that.
Yes.
They do it well. And then you have Microsoft or Sony coming in with exclusive games like Uncharted, Horizon Zero Dawn, Last of Us 2, The Last Guardian, Shadow of the Colossus. Like, you have these games that are not that.
Right. Yeah.
And what I think you will see for sure, though, is you'll see games that are standalone story games not feel like they have to cram in some type of multiplayer experience.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. But you may see AAA narrative games that do spin-offs like Uncharted Lost Legacy and the Horizon Zero Dawn thing.
And I think that's fine. I think
Dishonored
any kind
2
of
thing that's coming out this year as well. I mean, you're going to see more and more of that. And I think that's great.
Yeah. And so to be clear, for me, it's like additional DLC, things that expand the story or give you sub-stories. That's awesome to me. I love that. Bring on as much of that as you can. And I'm not saying that the games as service stuff is bad. There's an audience for it that loves it, and more power to the publishers and players. It's just not what I want.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. How about that Zelda DLC that's coming out this week?
So soon. I can't wait.
Just in time for the holiday weekend, yeah. And also, I don't know if you saw these little guys right here. Got some Zelda amiibos.
So did they artificially jack the price on those too, or?
They were like, I don't know.
Were they more expensive than regular amiibo?
Yeah, they are.
So then, yes, the answer was yes.
But then I got the Amazon pre-order discount.
Nice.
That's great.
Skyward Sword one. So.
Yeah, I haven't.
And they're very pretty. Yeah.
They were retailer exclusives.
Oh, okay.
Skyward Sword is Amazon. Majora's Mask was GameStop. Or no, sorry, Majora's Mask was Best Buy. And then there's another one coming from GameStop.
Yeah, I've definitely slowed down on my amiibo collecting.
I've only sped up.
Oh, wow.
I do not understand you guys.
Only sped up. Because they did these Zelda amiibo, and then they're doing Splatoon amiibo, which is right in my wheelhouse, and then they're doing
right in your wheelhouse.
Metroid stuff. Like, these are games that I love.
You say that as though they're amiibo that aren't right in your wheelhouse.
Animal Crossing ones are not in his wheelhouse.
Fire Emblem is not in my wheelhouse for amiibos. But that's me.
Yeah, I dig the Fire Emblem ones. So I'm all about that. But yeah,
Mario Odyssey, the ones that are going to be wedding cake toppers.
Those look pretty cool.
Very
I got to
late.
admit, those are
Those
cool.
are great. I'm getting
Those are
I'm getting
beautiful.
the 3-pack.
I can't wait for the
Was that
Bayview
going to be a
ones.
3-pack?
Well, they're selling them as a 3-pack, or you can buy them individually.
I might get the 3-pack on that one.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
those will be like my maybe. I might have 15 Amiibo at that point.
You don't want the Metroid ones? The Metroid ones look so great.
I have
Those
not
are
bought
cool.
any Metroid. Is one of them? I don't know. I haven't even. I don't know. I don't follow this stuff.
One of them is the baby Metroid escaping from the little test tube thing, and
That's
the
pretty
other
cool.
one is the Samus in the pose from the Metroid 2 Game Boy box art.
That's
Little
interesting.
crouched thing.
I think I have seen that. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
I'm all in on that. All in.
Yep, that's some good stuff.
Seriously, what turned me on, like the Breath of the Wild Amiibo are beautiful, and I want all of them. I refuse to pay more for those things. I don't understand why you in particular, Ethan. I got to call you out for this as someone who is so worried about fair practices to consumers. I do not understand why that doesn't bother you.
Oh, are you kidding me? So I can see actually what the price of the damn thing is and get exactly what I want at retail without any obfuscation. That's exactly what I'm looking for.
Even though they jacked the price for no good reason.
At least I know what the price is, and I don't have a 1 in 60 chance of getting it. Yeah.
Hey, these are quality toys right here. Quality. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm
so
okay with it.
You're okay with them cheating you as long as they're honest about the fact that they're cheating you, is what you're saying. So the next time you say that something's not consumer friendly and that's why you don't like it, I am not going to believe you.
Well, you're going to take a different opinion on what constitutes fair to consumers, I think. If Rockstar said, you know what, Red Dead Redemption is coming out at retail, it's $100, right? And they won't, but they could do something like that. I would be okay with that.
Yeah, in Canada they will, actually.
Because, hey, at least they're being upfront with what the price is.
What about so this is a trend now on PSN with games. I think it was Fortnite I was looking at. They have a pre-order up there that's $149.99.
Yep.
Of course, quote unquote founders pack style, because it is going to be a games as a service style thing, where you get a bunch of in-game items for your $150 digital purchase. What do you think of things like that?
You're asking me or Greg?
Yeah. Well,
I hope you're asking Ethan because I wasn't paying attention.
Okay. So yeah, Fortnite I won't buy just because it will have loot crates, and so I don't buy games with that anymore. But provided they are listing in detail what it is and it's not you get a chance to get something, that's fine. It's transparency. I've always, above and beyond all else, wanted to make sure that customers get transparency.
Okay.
What about you?
I'm not paying $150 for a digital product, even though I bought Overwatch.
We've
now
hit the breaking point for CJ.
Yeah. Anyway, shall we move on?
Sure.
And I see one of the news stories I want to talk about is on your list, Greg. So maybe we can just transition into that, because Sega launched their Sega Forever on mobile this past week.
Yeah. Yeah, I was really excited about that. The trailer made it seem, I kind of knew what to expect, but I allowed myself to get excited about that. Mm-hmm. I like what they're doing. I think marketing it as sort of, it seemed like it was going to be an app that housed all of these games, only to go on to the App Store and find out that no, it's still just literally all of Sega's games.
Separate games, yeah.
Separately. It was a little weird. But okay, sure, it's a branding thing, and that's fine. The ad-driven thing, I've always said I'm okay with that. I would much rather have ad-supported apps and ad-supported titles than I would have microtransactions. Totally agree with that.
To be clear, because I bought every one of them and I did the ad removal on every one of them, just $2 you spend and they give you the option right up front and it removes the ads forever.
And here's where Ethan and I separate.
Yep.
Ultra Beast and Phantasy Star 2 are absolute shit.
You're saying the emulation or the
emulation is terrible. It's terrible. And I would not spend a cent on either of those.
Would you if the emulation was 1-to-1?
More likely, it would be more
Okay.
likely. But here's the other problem, and I mean, speaking as a huge Sega fan, clearly, and a huge fan of the Genesis in general, clearly, man, they've released these games so many times at this point. Now, I'm excited they might be releasing something new, right? Because they're saying every couple weeks, so they've got to start digging into their catalog a little bit more, and that's fantastic. But Jesus, how many times have we released Phantasy Star 2 and Altered Beast?
Right.
It's too much. And that version of Sonic, you have to release Sonic the Hedgehog, of course, and of course that's the good version, like the what Christian Whitehead version of Sonic the Hedgehog. It's fantastic. So I'm fine with that. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's not enough to get excited over anymore. It'd be much more exciting to hear them going back to any other properties than just revisiting the Genesis stuff again. Especially because Phantasy Star 2 already came out on iOS ages ago.
Sure.
Yeah, but it didn't
supported.
have it, well, and much more important to me, not game controller supported. That was the thing that made me happiest. I have a Game Vice, and so being able to play these things on the go with the Game Vice controller feels really, really good. Yes,
does it feel good?
I wish the emulation was better, but I will say that it's still fun to play these games with a controller, and I'm really glad they supported that.
But
and again,
don't they play better on the 3DS?
But then why don't you just play? Yeah, why don't you play it on a console then? If you're already like, again, it goes back to, I've never understood this, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people with mobile devices and controllers is a common thing. I've never seen it, but I could be wrong about that. But if you need a controller to make the thing feel good, then why aren't you playing on a virtual console on a 3DS?
Yeah.
Well, okay,
you're already getting into the multiple device situation.
I hear what you're saying, but again, the issue is you knew from the outset that these were Genesis games, right? And so if you want to be able to play these properly, it's great that they have the support to allow you to play them properly. If you
back it up. You're not playing it properly, and that's my bigger problem. I did know they were Genesis games. Clearly, the advertising was about the Genesis. They talked about other systems, but it was about the Genesis.
Yeah.
But you're not playing them properly. There's no excuse for the situation that the emulation is in on those games. No excuse.
Yeah, I'm not excusing that either. Obviously, I would much rather have something that was running at a 1-to-1, and it's disappointing that they can't make games that are that old run perfectly.
I think they can. They just didn't.
They can't. They just aren't.
Yeah. Right. Fair enough. But what I'm saying is, for me, I'm happy having those games on as many platforms as they want. I'll pick and choose which platforms I choose to buy them on. It doesn't make my experience of Altered Beast on 3DS with the real 3D, any less that it's also on the phone. I've never understood why that would lead people to be frustrated.
You don't understand why the game running at half a frame rate, so it feels sluggish, and the sound being shitty upsets people?
I just said I understand that. I don't understand why you're part of the argument that's stating you wish they weren't just consistently releasing these old games. Like, what does it matter if they release it on more platforms or if they re-release it multiple times?
Because they released 3 of these games to launch this whole thing. And how long ago did Phantasy Star 2 come out on iOS?
What, 2009 or something?
Yeah. How long ago did Sonic come out on iOS? That version of Sonic.
Maybe 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Why are you excited to play shit that's been out there for years and years and years? If the
also,
argument
we're talking
was
about $2,
okay, but I'm just saying, if the argument was, if I was saying I don't understand why they were releasing these games across all these platforms and they keep going back to the well, I mean, I am saying that to a point, but I'm also saying that this is re-releasing stuff that's been on those platforms for one of them for at least 8 years. That's not exciting.
No,
not only are you re-releasing it and making a big deal out of it, but you haven't fixed it. And there's no reason why you haven't fixed it.
So, as I said, I would love to see a smoother emulation, but as somebody who has a Game Vice, I'm very happy when new content comes out that allows me to use that. And also, much more importantly, as a business model, I think that this is fantastic because a consumer never has to spend more than $2 on an individual game. That's awesome.
Yeah. I agree with you there, but I also think that the fact that that's something that you crusade about all the time is blinding you to the fact that you're getting a chance to make a single payment to play something that is not worthy of your money.
Not a quality product.
It's not a quality product. Except for the Christian Whitehead Sonic. I will never question that. That is fantastic. But if what we're getting is what we're going to get, even if they're going to reach deeper into their Genesis catalog, if it's going to be this quality, no, that's terrible. I'm sorry. I'm glad that you're giving me the option to play it without having to deal with ads.
Yeah.
But I think it's insulting that you're asking me to pay for something that's that bad. And it's demonstrably bad. That's not a judgment call.
Sure.
It's not good. That's my problem with it.
Yeah, I think that is totally reasonable. I think, to be clear, it's not as bad as like Mega Man 2 from Capcom on iOS.
Sure.
So, and that doesn't
came out
right. That doesn't excuse something less than perfect. But I don't think it's unplayable by any stretch. I think that it's especially something like Altered Beast or Phantasy Star 2. So, I wish the emulation was better, but I love the model. I love the idea behind it. And there's nothing to say that they won't improve the emulations either. If they came out right away, day one, perfect, that would obviously be best. But I'm happy at least that we're getting something and that it's fairly priced.
Of these games, they already knew that they were bad, right?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I'm just supremely disappointed that they didn't fix the emulation. It feels like a cash grab because honestly, right now, it feels like all they've done is repackage old games that they already finished selling 8 years ago.
Yep.
On the same device without improving one little thing. All they've done is gone in and add advertising and the ability to turn it off. That's what you're getting.
Okay. What else you got there, Greg?
Are we into what you've been playing?
Yes.
Speaking of, I think my kid's crying, but I'm going to go through this real quick. So, I've been streaming Tuesday and Thursday nights, and I've sort of turned Thursday nights into a Extra Life donor request night. And Ben Rivers has actually been requesting a couple of things, and this past weekend he actually requested that I play Shinobi Legions on the Saturn.
Nice.
Now,
is that the terrible one?
It is terrible, but it's so great. Now, it's actually a really good game, but it's just funny because it's all digitized, it's all full motion video, and it's amazing. You should please go to my YouTube channel and watch the archive because it is fantastic. It's actually a good little game. But no, it's funny because as we were playing it, it kind of got me thinking because it was right around the same time that those games came out on mobile as well, those old Genesis games. And I realized that Saturn emulation has not been perfected at this point. But man, like that's sort of where it got me to the mindset. They've got to start getting in. They've got to start getting into their more recent catalog. The Genesis was their they were the salad days, right? That was when Sega was the most successful it ever was and ever will be at this point. But they've mined it at this point. There are a few gems that they haven't re-released for sure. But in general, they've mined that era completely. So if they really do need to move on, and I mean, the Saturn is such a great. It goes back to something that I wrote in a blog post years and years and years ago before Sega actually started mining their old stuff to begin with. You've got the Genesis, and that's fantastic. But the Saturn, there are a lot of great games on there, and the upside to it, really, from a North American perspective, is not a lot of people experienced it. Because it didn't sell very well, and even the games that were popular in the system weren't played by tons of people. So, and that's a great example. Most of the people that came on the stream that night, they didn't even know Shinobi Legions existed. They didn't know there was a Shinobi game beyond Shinobi 3.
Yeah, I think the Saturn sold worldwide like 11 million units, and a lot of that was in Japan.
A lot of it was in Japan. Yep.
Yeah.
So but anyway, yeah, it was a great little game. And it just sort of got me again. I understand that Saturn emulation is not done yet, but oh my God, it would be a great next step, I think, for Sega. At least it would be noticeable. At least it would be notable. I don't feel like the industry at large can get excited about them re-releasing Sonic one more time, or Altered Beast, or Phantasy Star 2, or Gunstar Heroes. Even at this point,
But I last thing I'll say on it, let's be honest, those games, all 5 of the ones that they released, each one of them is better than anything in the top 150 in grossing. So, it's adding to quality on iOS.
But see, there's See, that's subjective, and that's what I was getting at.
What about this? What about this idea? So Microsoft is doing that thing where you'll be able to play original Xbox games on the Xbox One. What if they went in with Sega and said, we're going to bring all these Saturn and Dreamcast games to the Xbox platform, and if you have the original discs, you can stick them in.
I think that would be a huge
digitally. That would be crazy.
I don't think that would ever happen, but
probably wouldn't happen.
But it would be way more exciting than, hey, we're re-releasing Altered Beast and Golden Axe.
I agree. That'd be great.
And now I have to go see what my kid's crying about.
Okay.
I will return.
Well, I think then I can move on to my what you've been playing.
Sure.
I want to talk about Friday the 13th a little bit.
Yes, please do.
They did an event this weekend for double XP, and they also gave all the people who signed in during the event 13,000 customization points for your character. So you can buy perks and Jason kills. And they also added the NES Friday the 13th Jason palette swap, the purple Jason.
Oh, perfect.
Along with retro music. So when somebody is playing as him, the music is it's like it's coming out of an 8-bit NES.
That is super cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome fan service. Yeah.
Excellent stuff. So the servers are better now than they were at launch, for sure.
So you don't have to wait 3 years to get into a game.
You don't. I was having problems today staying in a game. A lot of disconnects this weekend, but I think it's because there were a lot more people playing this weekend than...
So I'm going to ask you a question, CJ.
Yeah.
And this is one of the reasons I was hoping to play with you sometime. The problem I've been having with the game is that I have never yet had a chance to be Jason, and so as the counselors, I've not yet found a group of people to be coordinated enough to ever escape. Now, I've only played it like maybe 10, 11 times, but I feel like I'm just bad at it, and I don't know how to get better. So, like, can you give like 2 or 3 newbie tips?
Did you have a microphone?
I did, yeah. No one was talking.
No one was talking. Okay. Well, first of all, you have to get into a group where people are using microphones. On the PS4, that's either finding friends who are playing the game or using the community section of the PS4 to find games that are people using mics.
Oh,
that definitely
just look up Friday the 13th on community?
Yes. Because that definitely helps. Tips, I mean, don't get killed. But,
okay.
Most of the time, you get killed by Jason while you're trying to do something else. I think go into one of the cabins, see what's in there, and if you get something that is one of the steps of escaping, whether that's the fuse for the phone or the battery for the car or a gas tank or the propeller for the boat, like then you sort of start going down that path. And once you find a radio in one of those drawers, you can communicate with people who are further away on the map and not just in proximity. So once you get a walkie, say, hey, I have the battery for the car, you might find somebody who has the car keys and the gas, and then you're set. Like you can pick a rendezvous point and meet up at the car and get out of there.
That makes sense. Okay, yeah, the microphone. I never had a chance to get a walkie-talkie, so I'll look for that then.
That's definitely a hindrance. Yeah, you got to get that walkie. Okay. One of the perks actually starts you off with the walkie-talkie. So
okay,
activated now, so I don't even have to find one. But the game is so much fun. I played like all night on Friday with people who were friends on PSN and listeners of the show, and it was just a hilarious time. It was absolutely fantastic. At one point, I was driving the car, and of course, driving the car, the controls are pretty difficult. Like it's not easy to drive this car through Camp Crystal Lake, and I ended up, because while you're driving, you can't look at the map to see where you're going. So I ended up driving through the whole camp, like off-road.
Oh, man. With Jason behind you. Can he actually attack you when you're in the car? I'm assuming.
Yeah, he can stop the car dead. Yeah, which is fantastic. for sure. And then yesterday I had a game where I killed 5 counselors in like a period of 2 minutes. And I put a video of that up on Twitter, and you can see it. It's pretty crazy. They were all escaping in the car. And when you're playing as Jason and somebody hits the car, like gets it started, you hear the car starting noise. So you can immediately check your map, see where the car starts moving, and then transport to that point.
Okay. So do you feel like if you're jumping in kind of newer here that you're at a disadvantage, or do you think it actually helps that there's a community of people who are more experienced in the game now?
I think it's great that there's a community of people. If you find the right people, they are going to give you tips on how to play.
Okay.
And have that microphone ready. Like in Overwatch, I barely talk unless I'm playing with a group of friends. But even if I'm playing with strangers in Friday the 13th, my microphone is on.
Okay. Just a quick aside. Also, at E3, I bumped into Adam Sessler and I just said, "Hey, Friday the 13th is great." And he was so humble. He's like, "Well, I had almost nothing to do with it, but I let the guys know, and I'm really happy that you love it." So
yeah, it is such a great game, and it has like a 57 Metacritic.
That's crazy. I mean, what do people expect? It actually does bring up the question of what expectations are for games, because the Friday the 13th game is a lot like the Friday the 13th movie, in that the movie was also very shoestring, low budget, for a specific audience that wasn't expecting The Shining,
Yeah.
And the game, I think, is the same thing. But remember, the movie also got terrible reviews as well.
I think you're right. I think, this game's not going to get re-reviewed, unfortunately. I think they had server problems. They did have server problems at launch that really got to people. And then I think, for me, the fun of the game outdoes any of the technical issues that it does have. Like, it definitely has technical issues. You run into weird glitches and things, but it is so much fun. And the game on Friday and then the game on Saturday that I just described, I had more fun in those and was just laughing like the entire time. I've had more fun playing this game than most AAA games of the last few years. Like, I'm really having a fun time. And I know people look at the Metacritic and they're like, "Oh God, but it's getting such poor reviews and it's got all these problems." And that's true. But if you want to play a game where you're Jason Voorhees and you're killing camp counselors, or you're a counselor trying to escape Jason Voorhees, I think you'll enjoy it.
Well, I'm telling you, with the house to myself this week, maybe even tonight, I'm thinking about having a night where I play several hours of Friday the 13th and then watch Friday the 13th Part 2.
I really have to get back into the movies now after playing this game.
You haven't seen most of them.
I haven't seen most of them. Yeah,
that blows my mind.
It's great. Yeah, I think you guys. Well, I think Greg, you might like Friday the 13th. I don't know.
Oh, I'm sure I would. If I, if my cash situation was a little bit better, I would probably grab it and try it out. I'd probably wait for a sale on it at some point and give it a shot.
Yeah, if it goes on sale this fall, which I imagine it would for Halloween, do not sleep on this, because this is a fun game.
I couldn't sleep after those movies anyway.
Well, there you go. And I was so into the asymmetrical multiplayer after Friday the 13th that I picked up Dead by Daylight as well. Dead by Daylight is a game that came out on PC a year ago, and it is a 4v1 game, very similar setup to Friday the 13th in that way, where you play. They have various killers that are not famous movie monsters, although Michael Myers is in the game as DLC in the PC version anyway. And you, as survivors, you have to restart these generators and then open up an exit door and escape. And it is different than Friday the 13th. The maps are a lot smaller, and you're not really as invested in the game as a survivor as you are in Friday the 13th. And I have seen some complaints about this online, where some people don't like Friday the 13th because you have to sit and wait for the entire match to be done before you can get your experience points and get out of there. In Dead by Daylight,
that's fun though.
Just
as an aside, I love watching and listening to the final 3 try to take out or escape Jason.
Totally. And then Dead by Daylight, you finish, and you're just at the game end screen, and the only thing you can do is leave. Oh, you can spectate if you want to, but and there's no voice chat in the game at all. So there's really not a whole lot. And apparently this is a purposeful thing from the developers. They wanted people to communicate only with the controller shortcuts, which have you pointing or beckoning.
That reminds me of when they did that with Resident Evil multiplayer on PS2. I forget what those games are called, but I remember Seabake was reviewing that with Mark McDonald, and they just ended up getting on the phone to talk to one another.
Well, I mean, I think there is a type of player that is going to like Dead by Daylight more than Friday the 13th. I am the person who likes Friday the 13th, even for all its glitches and problems and connectivity errors. I like it way more. So I've also been playing a little bit of ARMS, and that's been fun too. I've only finished it on difficulty 3.
You said it with absolutely no conviction. That's been fun.
Well, it's because Friday the 13th has basically taken over my gaming time.
Right.
Even though ARMS is great, and that game's hard.
It gets
a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. So it's good. I like it still. I need to play more online games with people, but Friday the 13th is kind of taking up all my time.
Cool.
So, yeah. Ethan, what do you got?
Yeah, well, I'll pick up the thread on ARMS because I've been playing a lot of that. Now, I have the advantage of having a very skilled 10-year-old in the house who also has her own copy of ARMS. So both of us are often playing against each other, which is a total blast. She is on the verge of beating the 4th cup for Min Min, I believe. So, she's almost to the point where she can do ranked matches. And so when I'm playing with her, and I just got past that point where I can do ranked matches myself, she's really, really good, very competitive, and that's super fun. But what's been great to me is, just kind of a story of the past couple of days. I went to lunch by myself, had to pick something up, and ended up playing some ARMS there. Later that day, we had happy hour at our office, and so we were able to pop it onto the big 60-inch screen and all play as a team. And it was really, really fun to watch people totally new, not just to ARMS, but to video games, play it and get into it. And then going on a trip last evening with the family to a little cabin, played more with my daughter. And so these 3 different and very distinct ways to play, all very satisfying, is why I love ARMS so much. It's the little things. It's like, I've been playing Tekken 7 as well, which is amazing, but it's also very deep, and you need to really invest a lot of time to get good at this game. ARMS allows you to be feeling like you're good at the game right away, which is really fun. And that, again, I saw with new people playing. You can just pick it up and start punching people, and it feels really, really good. You never feel weak in that game.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely has been a real highlight for the week. But looking at Tekken 7, I know Phil picked it up. Did anyone else or not?
Nope. No, I never been a Tekken guy.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm reminded yet again that I've kind of gotten into my head how to do all of the Street Fighter moves, and because of the fact that Neo Geo games basically will allow you to use those moves to be successful in their games, I keep wanting to do that. And Tekken is very different. Tekken, of course, is a lot more like, say, Virtua Fighter or something like that. So I'm really enjoying it, but it's taking me longer to feel competent. So I feel like I'm just kind of stiffly throwing around arms and legs and not being able to connect in a way that looks fluid yet. And the thing that's always tough is knowing, when you're going to find the time to really kind of invest to become good at this, and then which characters, right? But the production values are great, and it's just a real top tier thing. It looks like it was a product that they spent tons and tons of money on, and it's neat to see that fighting games from Namco, from Capcom, still have that position of being worth investing AAA budgets on. So if you guys have any fond memories of the past with fighting games, it's something I definitely think you should take a look at, if only for the production values.
I really need to. I was thinking today, I actually really, really want to try out Injustice 2.
Yeah, and that's an interesting one too. I haven't had a chance to try that, but is cool that fighting games are still around and there's still a community for them. And those are the types of games, I don't know about you guys, but I tend not to trade those in because their shelf life is pretty long usually.
Yeah.
So picked up Cave Story Plus, and this is the first time I've ever played Cave Story on the Switch, and really have been enjoying that. Can't believe that the original was done by one dude over the course of 5 years and then put on the market for free. That's pretty cool. But, it has a lot of humor and a lot of heart. Have you guys played that one?
I played it a long
time ago, yeah.
DS or 3DS.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I liked is that they packed it full of goodies if you bought it physically. So I got a little keychain with it, with a little satin pouch. They had the full soundtrack in there. They had a color instruction manual, and that type of stuff is really nice, especially when the game is so good. And so that game, Binding of Isaac, there are just some games that I have discovered for the first time on the Switch where other people, have been playing those games for years. And it's always nice to kind of be introduced to it that way. So
Totally.
the other two I'll say real quick. Demo I got from Limited Run. It was a Vita game that's from Rayark, the guys that did Voez, and it's beautiful. And it's just one of those games that very few people will play in, I think, the whole world, especially in the U.S. But it's nice sometimes to play something that obviously a lot of heart and love went into. It's really just a kind of simple story-driven music game, but worth it if you're a collector. And then Cars 3, Driven to Win, which I mentioned earlier on the show, done by Avalanche. Picked it up for two reasons. I have a 7-year-old son, and also I'm just really hungry for Switch games. And it's kind of like a racer cross with Tony Hawk, where the whole thing is you have to constantly boost up your turbo meter, which you do by doing tricks. And so at first it seems very, very hard, unreasonably hard. But once you get used to the tricks, it's fun, and it has a feel that's very different than other racing games. So it's not like a poor man's Mario Kart or anything. It's really its own thing. Not something I would highly recommend at $60, but if you have kids and you think you might play it once or twice, it's worth it from that perspective.
So is it just a racing game, or are you racing around a track, or?
Yes, it's racing around a track. It's surprisingly comprehensive in terms of its mode. So you have a straight racing mode. You have a weapons mode, which is like Mario Kart. You have a tricks mode. You have a kind of Chase HQ type mode. And all throughout, you're unlocking different abilities and stuff like that. So tons of characters to play with. Lots of voice acting, none from the original cast, but still it's pretty charming. And it's fun because you're constantly trying to drive backwards, drive on your left two wheels, do tons of spins in the air as you're jumping up, and anything to get that turbo meter going. So having that focus as well as trying to beat the other cars makes it feel a lot different than any other racing game. And of course, those types of things would look absolutely ridiculous in something like Forza Horizon, but it's fine if you're talking about cars with faces.
Right. Some of that stuff's in Hot Wheels.
Oh, sure. Well, it's Avalanche. So these guys, it's the Disney Infinity guys. They know what they're doing.
True. Cool. All right.
That's me.
Shall we move into tweets?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay. Let's start with this one then from hacker alias DJ Mizuhara, who says, what do you guys think of the Polymega, aka Retro Blocks? The ability to stream direct from the machine must get Seward moist.
Ew.
He says it's compatible with games for systems like PS1, TurboGrafx CD, Sega CD, and Neo Geo CD out of the box.
That's the thing that actually gets me, excited.
Moist.
The streaming right off the box thing is okay, but actually I prefer to just use my current setup for that. But really what gets me excited, is, Sega CD, I have like just about every single way you can play Sega CD games now, but that hardware is getting old. And it's not cheap to fix. My Turbo Duo does not play discs very well at all. Having a way to play those games and Neo Geo CD, that's cool. I'm more excited about that. This is sort of the jack of all trades CD-ROM game system. I really hope it's good because I have a decent collection of TurboGrafx, especially CD games, and actually HuCard games as well. And I would rather have something like this if it works well than get my Duo fixed and modded to output RGB and everything like that. So yeah, I'm super excited about it for that reason.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know how I feel about systems that are like compatible with the old stuff. I guess it's after the Retron. I'm kind of burned on that.
Why did the
Retron
burn
don't
you?
let the Retron. The Retron's emulation wasn't very good anyway.
Well, that's true.
On top of everything, the build quality wasn't very good. Although I will say they unveiled something that is supposed to play Atari 2600 games.
I saw that
coming out soon, and I got a little excited about that.
I saw that at E3. They had it on the show floor.
Yeah, they did.
Did anyone try it? I'm really curious about how that's going to work.
I didn't try it, but I saw it.
Yeah.
So anyway, no, I mean,
the
the Retron, yeah, it definitely leaves a bad taste in your mouth. It's versatile, and to throw any old game into it, it can be good. It can be a good experience. Being able to use the original controllers is great.
Sure,
but no, something more along the lines of the Retro AVS is another example of that type of thing, which I used for my Extra Life stream last year. That thing is fantastic.
Okay.
So yeah, don't let the Retron color your opinion of every clone. I guess they're not all technically clones anymore, but every clone system, it tried to do way too much, and the hardware wasn't really very good. So yeah.
Okay.
My fingers are still crossed for that awesome ColecoVision update. That's what I want.
Which one is that?
No, I'm being a bit facetious, but do you remember they were bringing back the ColecoVision name?
That thing.
Yeah. Yeah, but no, going back to that Atari, what's it called? Like the 77 or something like that? I think it was just the name of I think it was just the year was the title of the box. Just really curious to see how that goes, because I think of something like Pac-Man on the 2600 and how that sort of relied on CRT phosphor fading and that sort of thing.
Oh, sure.
To be playable in the least, because if you go back and you play like Atari on the 20, or you play Pac-Man on the 2600 on an emulator, and you don't have any filters on, you just have sort of the pure signal. You realize that the way that they created Pac-Man, or they programmed the original one anyway, is that it's like a single ghost sprite that's jumping around the screen.
Yeah.
You stimulate 4 ghosts. So of course, if you played that on a CRT back in the day, because of how long it took the picture to fade out, it looked like 4 separate, slightly flickering ghosts that you were playing against. But when you play it on something like that, it's unplayable. So curious to see how that goes. I am excited for the idea of it, although Atari is hinting at the Atari box as well. Curious to see what that's about. Yeah, it'd be cool to have a box that has HDMI you can plug right into the TV and play your old Atari cartridges. That'd be pretty neat.
Okay. Hacker alias Bear1297 says, I just played The Last Guardian. That game was way better than people gave it credit. Not a question, just a statement. I agree with that statement. It was a great game.
Sure.
It's one of my favorites of last year. Right? Everybody love it?
No.
I liked what I played.
I just too rough around the edges for me. That's a problem, though, is it's like now there's so many great games that are coming out, and that came out at a time in which there were a lot of great games.
That's true.
You got to be pretty flawless to get a straight playthrough for most players, I think.
Yep. Hacker alias Alpha Trion says, why the heck are Switch games $100 in Canada? That's $20 more than after converting from USD.
I call that a deal at twice the price. Go ahead, Stuart.
God, I hate you. I hate you so much. I'm curious where that's coming from, and I mean, I haven't bought a new game in a while, and I haven't really looked at Switch game prices in
$100. Are they
in
really?
weeks? Sort of run into a website here and just to see what
Mario Odyssey.
Well, yeah, that's a pre-order price for Mario Odyssey. So I don't know. Maybe ARMS is 8. Like if I'm looking at bestbuy.ca right now, Mario plus Rabbids and ARMS and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, those are all $80.
Wow.
Which, yeah, welcome to my world. You guys wonder why I
Damn.
complain about price. But yeah, Pokken Tournament and Mario Odyssey on the site are listed at $100.
Wow.
So to be fair, after tax, $80. Yeah, you're approaching the $100 mark. Especially, I mean, in this province, we pay 15% sales tax.
Sure,
So, but I don't think they're really. I think those 99.99s are placeholders. But yeah, I mean, games have been approaching $100 for a while now in Canada. It's just, which is why I have to say again, going back to Microsoft and the pricing that they announced in Canada for the Xbox One X, they actually seem like they give a shit about their Canadian consumer because they're actually giving us a little bit of a break. I think by like $40.
Really?
So,
That's
yeah.
huge.
So I mean, that's nice. You know, I speaking as a Canadian gamer, I really appreciate that. But yeah, games in general are like $100 now after tax up here. So it's one of the reasons why I'm not buying as many as I used to. I just can't, you know,
Can't blame you.
The $20 discount that you tend to get, or the 20% discount that you tend to get if you go through like Amazon Prime or something like that. It's bringing them back down to what I feel is a more fair price.
So
but it's
now,
still not cheap.
Pardon me for being totally naive, but I mean, can you not just go to a U.S. digital store and buy them physically to send to Canada for U.S. prices?
No, that's not usually how it would work. No.
But also with conversion, it's
plus the conversion, you're not really saving it. People aren't like Canadians aren't really getting screwed so much by the companies as far as what the conversion is. Generally, they tend to round up.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
But you know, it's really just the strength of the dollar. It's just funny because, and you know, this is, I don't know, capitalism. It's not surprising that this is how it works. But as the Canadian dollar started to reach, I think it actually reached parity with the US dollar a couple of years back, we didn't see prices drop. But the second it started to lose value again, boy, did the prices go up fast.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's kind of where we're at. And my real concern is that if the Canadian dollar, for some reason, ever got back to the point where, I guess really what I am saying is if the American dollar ever tanked to the point that the Canadian dollar was almost worth the same, I don't trust that these prices would go back down. I feel like we're kind of in the zone now for good, which sucks. I again, as speaking as a hardcore gamer, I do not buy the amount of games I used to buy. Just because it's ridiculously expensive at this point. $100 is not. I mean, you know, that's more than half my grocery bill.
Well, and the thing that I see with that is somebody who does push very hard for, you know, a strong and healthy future for premium games. If they're that expensive, that's a hard thing to sell.
Right. Exactly. Sure. Yep.
All right, Hacker Alias Video Rangers says, have you ever played Deep Fear on the Sega Saturn? Do you think this is a franchise Sega should revive?
I played it. I don't remember much about it, so I don't think it's a franchise they need to revive.
I've never even heard of it.
But I remember playing it. Yeah.
Who is the developer?
I think it was Sega.
Really?
Sega Internal? Or was it? It wasn't Climax, was it?
It might have been Climax. No. Hang on a sec here. It was Sega AM7.
All right.
Weird.
Along with support from System Saycom, Sims, and ISCO.
Yeah, I'm looking up the box right now, and I have never seen that box before in my life.
I'm not sure it never came here. It never came to the US.
That's why I haven't seen it.
It was a Japanese game, and it was released in Europe.
Yeah, because I see the UK box. Yeah.
I remember somebody I knew
never played it.
I want to say it was pretty much like Resident Evil.
Looks like it. Maybe more like Blue Stinger.
Blue Stinker, as I like to call it. Because that game stunk.
Oh, right. I'm reading this now. Yeah, so it was the plot was inspired by films like Leviathan and The Abyss. So everything takes place 300 meters below the surface of the Pacific Ocean in a refueling and research facility known as the Big Table. Oh my! You play as John Mayer before his singing career. Apparently.
Oh,
Nice.
awesome. Love it.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do this one from Hacker Alias Thorbon 3, who says, did CJ watch Glow with his daughter in the room like Jessica Jones? So to clarify, I didn't watch Jessica Jones with my daughter in the room.
She watched it with CJ in the room.
We found out that we couldn't watch the rest of Jessica Jones just anytime we wanted to, and then it ended up that we just never finished it. So Glow is sort of in the same situation. We watched it not with my daughter in the room.
So
and
she does go to bed eventually, right?
Yes.
You and your wife not converse or do anything together after your child is asleep, or
We do.
Okay, so that's when you finish Jessica Jones.
Yeah, but it's tough. We've learned the hard way that our kids listen to everything for an hour after they go to bed.
So then watch it an hour after that. No, then you're probably getting into actual bedtime.
Yes,
exactly.
I get it.
I go to sleep kind of early. Really.
So then, CJ, you've got about 2 million iOS devices in your home.
Yes.
Watch them on those.
Oh no. I don't know. Jessica Jones. I'm really not a superhero movie or TV kind of person. Anyway.
I am. I am not sick of superhero movies or television shows at this point, but I also don't watch every single one of them. But I will say, man, the Marvel Netflix shows have not all been great, but I am super excited for Defenders. Jessica Jones and the first 2 seasons of Daredevil were fantastic. They're so good. Iron Fist, not so much.
That's what I hear.
And Luke Cage has its moments. Luke Cage's the first half is good, then it gets weird.
But the show Glow from Netflix.
Glow is awesome.
It's really funny.
Oh my god, I'm in the middle of binging that. I'll probably finish the series tonight after the show.
Yeah, I guess it's 10 episodes. I've watched 2.
Oh, so, it just gets better.
I watched the documentary on the real Glow.
Me too. When I heard that it was when the advertiser was coming out and it was like in 2 days, it's like, oh, that's really super interesting because I never watched Glow when I was a kid. I remember seeing the videos in the video store all the time.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. Yeah.
And I didn't know what it was. I dare say that it never actually got broadcast here. But I kind of always assumed that it was just clips of lady wrestlers from like the WWE or the WCW or whatever those franchises were called back then, which is why I never really looked at them. I mean, I was big into wrestling at the time, like Saturday Supercade or whatever it was called. Like the Saturday morning WWF series was.
I was all about that.
Yeah,
totally.
That was great. I had no idea Glow was actually a promotion until years later. So when they announced that the show was coming out, I was excited about that. And then it's like, oh wait, there's a documentary about the actual promotion on here. It's really good. It was really good. Yeah. So I would highly suggest checking that out too. But the show is fantastic. I love it.
It is great. And Alison Brie is great.
And that doesn't hurt. I'm a huge Alison Brie fan as well. So
all right. Hacker Alias Gaming in Public says, how has your gaming changed since you've become parents?
CJ's hasn't changed at all, clearly.
Well, here's the thing.
It's gotten more gory.
When Friday the 13th came out, I moved my PS4 from the living room up to my office. So
that makes sense.
And when I'm playing Friday the 13th, I try not to have my daughter come in the room. Or if she does, if I've already been killed, then I switch to one of the camp cameras so that it's not gory.
Yeah.
Why not just turn the TV off?
I could do that, I guess. But yeah, so I'm able to play Friday the 13th and Dead by Daylight without having to worry about that stuff, which is nice. Yeah. For sure.
It is. It's such a huge change, though. As I said, like if I didn't have kids right now, I would be counting the days till Xbox One X. I'd be really excited, and I already would have had like the 4K TV and all of that. But now it's just, the thing is always having to wait until 11 o'clock or later to play on the big TV has changed how I play the AAA games. And of course, that is why I lean so heavily on Switch, which for myself and so many other dads is like a game changer because I can finally play the number of hours that I used to, because I can play like, in different slots during the day. But yeah, I mean, before that, it just became this very constrained thing. And I had very little patience for any kind of grinding, forget about any kind of RPG. I needed to have constant and massive meaningful progression every session.
I still have that, but somehow I was still able to dump 100 hours into Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Well, right, because it's on Switch.
Because it's on Switch. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Even if it was just on Wii U, I probably would have done the same thing. But yeah.
I'm kind of in the same boat as Ethan, although we differ a little bit as far as playing. I honestly don't play games much at all in the daytime anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it started from a standpoint of being married. And spending time with my wife instead. And then as the kids were born, a mixture of making sure that I was spending time with them. And then also as they get old enough to, be able to understand the things that I might be playing, not playing those in front of them.
Sure.
So yeah, a lot of AAA gameplay in the evenings after the kids went to bed. Now, I mean, bedtime was like 7:30 and my wife went to bed fairly early, so I had a couple hours every night that I could play still. But the key thing that I share with Ethan, and I think you too, and probably everybody is, or not everybody, but a lot of people, is that, I mean, I prefer single player experiences. I prefer contained gameplay experiences, beginning, middle, and end, that sort of thing. So progress is huge for me. If I'm going to spend my hour and a half to 2 hours one night on a game, I want to feel like I've accomplished something in that hour and a half.
Yep.
If I don't, I'll tend to drop a game pretty fast, which is why I've always found those, it gets good in hour 12 arguments completely ridiculous. Although 17-year-old me would totally be the person making that argument.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Though, Stuart, I think that ties to another thing too, is that, I think one of the big reasons I, and maybe you as well, have never gotten into the games as a service also is like, if even this group, the Player One group, said, hey, we're all going to get much more into Destiny 2. So let's every Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday at 8 p.m. get together and raid. It's like, I could never keep up with that. I wouldn't even try.
No. And I actually was doing something like that for a while, because there's a couple folks that are listeners to the podcast that I started playing iRacing with, because it's just something that I used to love to do. And even a weekly, every Wednesday night schedule, I just couldn't keep up with it. I need to be able, that's a really good point, Ethan. I think the other thing is I need to be able to step away from it.
Yep.
At a moment's notice. So
Yes.
These games where you can't pause, and obviously why would you be able to in an online game? But yeah, not being able to pause the game and walk away from the controller because somebody called out for me or started crying or had a nightmare or something like that. Like, I have to be able to do that. And especially now more than ever, now that I'm separated, I mean, I have to be able to do that.
Yep, sure. Well, and also you look at something like ARMS, and what's great is not only can you save state whenever you want, but like literally after every round in every match, you can save and quit.
And yeah, I mean, when I was in my late teens, early 20s, I was a huge JRPG fan. And I was fine with grinding. I was fine with sitting there for 5 hours and not doing anything but fighting battles over and over again to make money to buy the next sword and that sort of thing. And I just do not. Design has gotten much better, because back in the day, saving, you got to make it to a town or else you're going to lose 5 hours of progress or something like that. So, I mean, that doesn't happen anymore. But yeah, like it's amazing to me when I look back at the games I played, like I said, when I was like 19, 20, 21 years old. I wouldn't touch most of those games now with a 10-foot pole, just because I wouldn't be able to.
Well, and I think a good way to articulate this to people who are younger, who have a lot more access to, time on machines, like something like Rise of the Tomb Raider, that game took me about a month and a half to beat. Same thing with Uncharted 4. People say they're super short. Oh, they're only 20 hours long. That's a month and a half for me.
Yeah, I love that. I love that experience, right? That's like the game length that I prefer now.
Yeah, 20 hours or less. I'm honestly happy with 10 to 12 hours. That is really what I'm looking for in my games at this point.
Totally. When they said that new Uncharted is like 8 to 10 hours.
Perfect. Yeah, I got so excited. Yep.
Alrighty.
You know, actually,
Sorry.
oh, just real quick, a comparison. I have, funny enough, been getting more into comic books. And if you think about it, value for the dollar, nothing is really much worse than comic books because you usually can burn through one in like 7 or 8 minutes and it's $4, you know? But I have a feeling of accomplishment and I can fit it in my day. So I actually really like that kind of, short blast of entertainment.
One other thing I want to call out too, and I'm sure Ethan, you're experiencing this because your kids are a little bit older as well. But my gaming habits have changed again more recently because, well, my daughter, who's 10 now, she's not really a gamer.
Yeah.
My son, however, is, and
Yeah.
so now I'm actually I do spend a lot more time, not a lot more, but it's a significant amount more time on a weekend usually playing games in the daytime, but it's always something that we can play together.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Like we actually played through because I fired up the PS3 the other day and could still play the Simpsons arcade game.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We played through the Simpsons arcade game yesterday, which was great, and then we actually this morning we're playing Double Dragon Neon.
Oh, perfect.
Which was fantastic. I'd forgotten how much I love that game. So,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of fun because I have a huge game collection. A lot of it's old stuff that he's able to play. And he's also sort of got me playing games that I wouldn't normally play, like Star Wars Battlefield. It's Battlefront. Star Wars Battlefront. Not a game I would normally play, but something he's really super into. And he wants me to play with him. And of course I want to play with my son. It's an amazing experience. It's not, and it's changed again. It's sort of changed the type of gamer I am, but not interested in going and playing those games online, but I will sit there for hours and play them with him.
Yep.
All right. Should we call this a show?
Sure.
That is a show.
All right. Alrighty, and that is our show for this week. Thank you very much for listening. If you have a question for us or would like to comment on something you heard, you can direct that to @P1Podcast on the Twitter, or you can go to our internet website at player1podcast.com. There you'll find our contact information. You'll find blog entries about Sega CD stuff from Mr. Greg Seward.
Yes, I am breaking ground on a new one this week.
Very nice. You'll find Generation 16 episodes as well.
I was doing a bunch of research for the final game in the current episode, and I'm actually really excited to write about it. So, yeah.
Cool. All right. You'll find show notes from this episode and our other episodes. If you want to find, links to that Seabake video that we were talking about earlier, the Spider-Man video, I'll put those in the show notes for the show. If you want to come and watch us tape an episode of the Player One Podcast live in person at Scoopfest 17. You can get all of that information at heyscoops.com/shop. That is going to be awesome. The weekend of September 23rd in the fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. And on our website as well, you will find a message board where you can discuss this episode with us and our other listeners.
If you would like to subscribe to the Player One Podcast, you can do so by going to player1podcast.com or to the iTunes music store, or no, it's something else now. The iTunes,
Apple
Podcasts, whatever. While you are there at one of those places, you can buy. You know what? I'm not even going to try it that way. We have an app. We have an app on iOS and Android where you can stream all of our episodes. You can email us. You can check the show notes. You can do all those fun things, and you can buy them on both types of devices for $1.99 American.
Cheap.
Not so cheap if you're in Canada, but that's okay. That's okay because we all make more money to make up for our lower dollar, something like that.
Oh,
not really. Make less. If you want to watch us record live every Sunday night live on the internet, you can do that by going to youtube.com/P1Podcast. We record at 8 p.m. Eastern every Sunday night, generally.
True.
Generally, we're recording live here on YouTube. Come into the chat, hang out, talk with us, talk with our other folk that hang out in the chat, our great community. So always has something interesting to say and talk about on the chat. So yeah, come do that. You can also listen to us on where else, CJ? Come
on. Stitcher. Is
that it?
You can like us on Facebook. We got Patreon.
Yeah, I was
You
going
want to contribute to the show?
Yeah, patreon.com/P1 podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Again, our show is free. It will always remain free, but it is not free to produce. So if you want to help us keep the lights on, please come to that URL and pledge a little bit of cash. Help us keep going. I think that's it. Want to call out, of course, my Extra Life campaign this year, up over $500 now.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm going to be attempting to, speaking of Sega games that no one has played or seen in a long time, on July 15th, I will be playing through Panzer Dragoon Saga on the Saturn.
Wow.
Nice.
Over at twitch.tv/Seward in support of Extra Life. So please come by and watch, chat, and give what you can. Also, if you have donated or are going to donate, I'm streaming every Tuesday and Thursday night at 9:30 Eastern on twitch.tv/Seward. And if you request a game after you've pledged money to Extra Life, I'll play it. If I own it, I'm going to share out a link to a list of the games that I'm able to stream. So please come do that. Yeah. CJ.
Yeah.
Thanks for hosting, man.
Well, thank you for joining me.
And Ethan.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, as always, for your wonderful conversation.
Well, thank you for having me.
And your beard.
Oh, thanks.
It's a nice beard.
Yeah.
And to listeners, well, actually to Phil, good luck in your move. Can't wait to have you back again next week. And to our listeners, thanks for tuning in. And why don't y'all come back again and listen to us do it again next Sunday.
Totally. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.